Hello, I'm Penny Adwell, and this is my presentation over the Cherokee. Long ago, before there were any people, the world was young and covered in water. The earth was a great island floating above the sea, suspended by four rawhide ropes representing the four sacred directions. It hung down from the crystal sky. There were no people, but the animals lived in a home above the rainbow. Needing space, they sent the water beetle to search for room under the sea. The water beetle dove deep and brought up mud that spread quickly, turning into land to live on. Buzzard was sent to make preparations for the others. The earth was still soft. When he grew tired, his wings dipped low, brushing the soft mud, gouging out mountains and valleys. When it was finally dry, the animals came down to live on the land. The first people were believed to be brother and sister. One day, brother hit sister with a fish and told her to multiply. She had one child every 7 days, and soon the world became crowded. So now, women only have one child per year. Now, this is the Cherokee belief of creation. And if you think about it, it's not much different from other cultures' beliefs. The origin of the Cherokee is not specifically known, but it is believed that they are a disbanded tribe of Iroquois Indians that relocated from New England, possibly from upper New York or the Great Lakes area. The name Cherokee may have come from the Creek Indian with a word Chilokee, meaning people who speak a different language. Now this would make sense since the Creek would have never have heard the Iroquois language. Now, beyond popular belief, Cherokee never lived in teepees. Their homes resembled upside-down baskets that was thatched and covered in mud to keep out the outside elements. Now, they lived in this type of home until after the European settlers came, when they took up living in log cabins. Now, clothing was mainly buckskin, and the men mainly wore loincloths and moccasins during the summer. In the wintertime, they would add shirts, leggings, and robes made from animal furs and hides. The women wore deerskin dresses and loose blouses, and added furs and robes during the winter. Now the Cherokees are actually divided into 7 clans, and their clan membership, as well as any possessions, is passed down from the mother. Now, you cannot marry into your mother or your father's clan because that is actually considered incest and is punishable by death. And after a woman marries, they usually live near the bride's family. Now, we saw an example of this in Clancy's novel where Maritole and her husband lived on her family's farm. Now, the 7 clans are actually divided and very distinct. They usually consist of people that are actually healers, travelers, hunters, or different things. The Blue Clan are mainly healers. They make medicines from a plant that makes the medicine blue. And this medicine is used to help keep the children of the clan or the tribe healthy. The Longhair Clan wear elaborate hairdos and walk with a specific gait. Now, many peace chiefs have come from the Longhair Clan, and they have been known for adopting orphans of other tribes or from prisoner of wars. They've actually taken them into the tribe. The Bird Clan have a specific responsibility for protecting birds. Birds are believed to be messengers between heaven and earth, or between the people and the great creator. The Paint Clan are again healers, but their healing is a little different. They actually gather and mix the medicines and then perform a ceremony where the medication is actually painted onto the body of the person. The Wild Potato Clan are gatherers or keepers of the earth. They were responsible for gathering the wild potatoes and the other vegetables that grew along the streams. The Deer Clan have always been known as fast runners and hunters. They've also been used as messengers for their ability to travel quickly between villages or from person to person. The Wolf Clan has always been the largest and most prominent clan, and they are still very active today. They produced many war chiefs during the time of the wars. They are still currently fighting for Cherokee heritage and trying to preserve the language. There's about 730,000 people claim to have Cherokee blood. Only about 9% of those people actually speak the Cherokee language. And as we read in the Idiot's Guide, once a language disappears, the tribe follows. Now, the first outside contact that the Cherokee had was with the Spanish exploration group led by Hernando de Soto. He came to America somewhere around 1540 searching for gold. Now, there was no long-term relationship built up between de Soto's exploration group and the Cherokees. But later on, there were other European settlers that came in, and there were relationships that were actually built. But with the Europeans came diseases that the Cherokee had no immunity to, such as smallpox. And in 1715, the South Carolina population of Cherokee was about 10,000 people and spread about 30 villages. 23 short years later, by 1738, half of those had been killed by epidemics. Now, in the American Revolution, the Cherokee actually supported the British. And if you think about it, that kind of makes sense. The American settlers were pushing the Cherokee off of their land. And if the British had have won, the Cherokee may have been able to keep their land because they would have pushed people back to England. But due to treaties and the Americans winning, the Cherokee had actually been forced to give up a lot of their land. There was about 2 million acres in Georgia alone that the Cherokee were forced to give up. So once the American settler came in, they had to change their way of life. So they focused more on farming and hunting so they could survive. Now, the women performed most of the work when it came to farming. They planted the crops, they gathered the crops, they stored the crops. Men mainly focused on hunting and fishing. Now, with the American settler coming into the areas began to become overpopulated. So some Cherokee decided to move west. Some had been forced off of their land, were looking for a new way of life. So in 1819, there was a chief led about 3,000 families west across the Mississippi River into the areas of what is now known as Arkansas and Missouri. And between 1819 and 1827, over 10,000 people made that journey. Now, in 1821, a half-blooded Cherokee named Sequoyah, or his English name was George Guest, actually developed a Cherokee syllabary or alphabet, which enabled reading and writing of the Cherokee language. Now, with the ability to read and write, opened the doors for education. And in 1851, the Cherokee Female Seminary was opened. Now, the tuition of this school was actually $45 per year. Doesn't seem like much nowadays, but back then that was a lot of money. So the Cherokee tribe actually set aside funds to let 50 students go to this school for free. The seminary taught girls and women Latin, botany, chemistry, physics, and music. This was a great education for this time. Women had no rights. This was pre-Civil War, and most men did not get educations like this. Now, during the Civil War, this school did have to close, mainly for safety reasons, but they reopened it in 1879, and when it reopened, it got to reopen as a tuition-free school. Now, the original school burned in 1887 on Easter Sunday, but they relocated it to Tahlequah and reopened it in 1888. Now, that original building still stands on Northeastern University campus and is actually named Seminary Hall. Now, in December of 1835, gold was discovered in northern Georgia. So with this discovery of gold, the land became very valuable. So the government wanted this land. So the government met with Chief John Ross, who was of the Georgia Cherokee. They cut a deal with him through a treaty that they would give $5 million for all Cherokee land east of the Mississippi River. Now, Chief Ross did not have the authority to actually sell all of this land, but he signed this treaty. And the people actually fought against it all the way to the Supreme Court. But in the end, the treaty was actually upheld, and that began the removal of the Cherokee Indians. Now, this became a great stain on American history and has been named the Trail of Tears. Now, I'm sure everyone has actually heard of the Trail of Tears. This journey actually took Cherokee Creek and other Indians on a 116-day journey over 1,200 miles. Most of these people only had the clothing on their back. They traveled through winter, over rough terrain, extreme weather conditions, and many people died. About 4,000 people died on this journey, and it has become a great stain on American history. Now, the Cherokee today have actually been divided into 3 bands. The Eastern Band, which are located in western North Carolina, have about 13,000 enrolled members. The United Kituwa Band have about 14,300 members, with about 13,000 of those living in Oklahoma. The Cherokee Nation is the largest of the 3. They have about 299,000 people enrolled, but about 189,000 of them living in Oklahoma. Now, there's more very interesting facts about the Cherokee people that I couldn't quite squeeze into this presentation. But I will tell you that this is a very resilient tribe. They have hung on to their cultures and their beliefs through some very painful times. I have a great respect for these people and for their ancestry. And there are so many other fascinating things that you could discover if you just wanted to take some time to actually look it up. I wish I had more time to where I could actually report on more of this, but I believe you'll have fun if you'll actually take a look at this. So I wish you happy hunting.